Today's meeting is brought to you with closed captioning by Hillsborough Television.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to your Board of County Commissioners regular board meeting. It is Thursday, September 20th, and we're going to start with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance by our chaplain, Commissioner Stacy White.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, local government decisions hit so close to home and impact our lives in so many ways, oftentimes more so than other levels of government. So I pray, Lord, for that reason that you will guide this board, our staff, and our stakeholders as we make important decisions this morning. Lord, I pray for those, particularly in the state of North Carolina, that are still dealing with these floodwaters in the aftermath of the storm. I pray that the waters will recede quickly and that they will find things, and that they're able to get things, rather, in order just as quickly as possible, Lord. I pray for our first responders, particularly those that have responded in the aftermath of that disaster, the linemen and all the others that are there on the scene to help. I pray for our military and pray that you'll guide them each and every day and deliver them home safely and comfortably. I ask for all of these blessings in your heavenly name. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner White, for that wonderful prayer, and we do. Our hearts and prayers are with the people in North Carolina, for sure. Okay, we have 3 presentations today, and Commissioner Higginbotham will start with the first presentation.
And today, the first presentation is also my last presentation of a commendation or proclamation that I'll be doing in the boardroom, and would like to start by thanking the Communications Department, in particular Peter Velasquez, for all that he's done in helping my office in doing good work, research, and preparing these recognitions. I also want to thank Tampa Bay Water for their sponsorship of the WaterWise Award that they've done for over 2 decades. And I know that Commissioners Murman and Kemp sit on Tampa Bay Water, and I don't know if you all were involved in the selection process, but thank you for what you've done at Tampa Bay Water. If I could call Lynn Barber with the Extension Office, Steve Gran, our Director at the Extension Office, and this year's recipient, Cynthia Glover, up to the podium and talk about the WaterWise Award for just a moment. Welcome. You're not going to be called on to sing or anything, so you can relax. That's going to be left up to our county attorney. One of the things I noticed about the award this year is the way that it was described as whimsy, palette showcase, literally of plants and landscaping, of which has been a great interest of mine and why I asked to do this some 10 years ago to be the one that made this presentation. But the Hillsborough County Board of Commissioners is pleased to recognize the 2018 WaterWise Award winner. It's this time of year that I have the privilege to announce and present the winner of the Community WaterWise Award, which is sponsored by Hillsborough County, Tampa Bay Water. This year's winner is Cynthia Glover. I've already called you to the podium. Cynthia is a 4th-generation Floridian and a garden enthusiast, as well as a coach who prefers working outside in her landscape versus inside her home. Her favorite plants are caladiums, peace lily, hydrangeas, bromeliads, pentas, and many, many more. I hope that before I leave office that I'll be able to stop by and visit your yard, which I've done in years past. So we'll work on getting that arranged with my office to stop by for a visit. For 20-plus years, the Community WaterWise Award program has recognized the attractive water-conserving landscapes at homes, businesses, industries, or governments that present the beauty and resiliency of our natural environment. Tampa Bay Water sponsors this award, which is administered by Hillsborough County Extension Office. Winning landscapes have a balanced, attractive design with Florida-friendly landscaping, as well as irrigation, systems or techniques that minimize the use of water. I'm proud to make this presentation this year and my last, but with that, I'll turn it over to Lynn and to Steve. And I know one year I forgot to recognize you, Steve, so I wanted to make sure I got you.
Okay, we'll double recognize you today. How's that? All right. So anyhow, I would like to thank the Board of County Commissioners and Tampa Bay Water, and most certainly Stephen for supporting this program and Cynthia for entering the program. I had not seen her landscape before, but I had heard that it was pretty interesting. So the team and the team is comprised of Hillsborough County employees from Extension and Public Utilities. And we even had an intern this year that worked with us. And we schedule appointments with the dozen-plus people that turned in applications. And we go out and we evaluate their landscape on criteria that deals with water and environmental conservation. So when we got to Cynthia's yard, we walked around it, and not only did we really enjoy her little dog, and I'm a cat person, but her dog was really cute. So that's not part of the award, but it was very fun seeing how happy her little dog was. So we evaluated the landscape, took a lot of pictures, and then at the end of evaluating all 14 landscapes, we sit down and discuss pros and cons, and we all fill out our own evaluation sheet and then average it. And Cynthia was truly, without question, the unincorporated Hillsborough County Community Waterwise Award winner for 2018. She has some of the most unique things in her landscape. She has pine trees that were cut down and made into, like, if you think about the pi sign, so she's got staghorn ferns hanging from them. Every time we turned a corner, we found some other unique, amazing item in her landscape. So it was absolutely thrilling for me to see something this beautiful. The team and I took a vote, and Cynthia, we're all moving in. So she may have to move out, but it really was amazing. So I am thrilled that she is the winner this year. Congratulations.
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Stephen Grant. I'm the County Extension Director, and I just wanted to recognize our Florida-friendly landscaping program, which the WaterWise program is part of. I really see this WaterWise Award as kind of the capstone, for those participants in our Florida-friendly landscaping program. It's for those folks that really epitomize those principles that we teach to its full extent. And when I say capstone, when you see this award, you'll really appreciate what I mean by that. And again, congratulations to Cynthia, our winner this year. And I wanted to also thank, besides the County Commission and Tampa Bay Water, our Public Utilities Department, which also helps provide funding to our program, and of course our Extension faculty, staff, and our team of volunteers. And I just wanted to also mention that our Florida-friendly landscaping program is available to all Hillsborough County residents, where you can learn about landscaping, water conservation, and conservation activities. And if you participate, most likely your landscaping will result in being attractive. It'll conserve water. You'll decrease your fertilizer and pesticide use, and probably end up saving money. Last year, our participants in our program reported saving 39 million gallons of water throughout the year, and reported a savings of $212,000. So just wanted to highlight that and encourage folks to participate in our Florida-friendly landscaping program. And again, congratulate Cynthia Glover for her achievement.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am completely honored to have this kind of an award for my landscaping. I truly do have a heart for teaching other people how to do the 9 Florida-friendly principles, and it's just my joy to be in my garden. It's my sanctuary. It's where I go to get myself centered and just really do enjoy the whole process. I want to thank Lynn, of course, and Hillsborough County Extension, Tampa Bay Water, and of course the Board of County Commissioners for all supporting this. And it's just been such a really great pleasure. And I strongly believe that everyone can make a difference if they just do their part.
Thank you, and we're going to come up for a photo.
Thank you very much, and thanks for all your hard work, and congratulations to the winner. The next proclamation will be done by myself. Well, every year we get the pleasure of recognizing someone who is a tireless advocate for people with disabilities in our community. And I just so proud to be standing here and recognizing our friend Becky Purcell. And I'd like to welcome her and the Yes Group to come on up to the podium and stand with me. Okay, great. Awesome. Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, right here. Just to give you a little bit of background, Becky founded Yes in 2002 to positively change what it means to have a disability. Each year, Becky comes to the County Commission to remind us about the importance of disability awareness. And this year marks the 28th anniversary of the passage of the Americans with Disability Act. She also wants to remind us about the F.A.I.R, which stands for Family Abilities Information Rally, which will be held at the All People's Life Center on October 6th. This annual event raises awareness so that citizens with disabilities can realize opportunities and responsibilities that should be available to all residents in Hillsborough County. And Becky, I want to just, before I read the proclamation, I do want to thank you for all you do. You are a tireless advocate, a fearless supporter, and you've just helped so many people that have disabilities. So today we are recognizing Yes of America United as they prepare to celebrate the Disability Awareness Fair on October 6th. And as I've said, Yes enriches the lives of people living with disabilities via education outreach programs, and that allows them to be engaged members of our community. The proclamation reads, whereas 2018 marks the 28th anniversary of the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which aims to ensure equality for all. Whereas simple accommodations help provide universal access to resources and empower all people to give back to the community. Whereas breaking down physical and attitudinal barriers are important steps toward meeting the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Whereas encouraging all individuals to self-advocate, become productive residents, improves quality of life for everyone. Whereas programs that raise awareness are crucial to ensuring people with disabilities can realize the opportunities and responsibilities that should be available to all residents. Whereas the Family Abilities Information Rally, called F.A.I.R, provides centralized outreach from state and county agencies, micro-enterprises, nonprofit groups, businesses, groups involved with the arts and sports, health agencies, and clubs. Whereas Hillsborough County partners with Yes of America United, which was founded 16 years ago, to demonstrate their cooperation is essential for success. The theme of the 11th annual Yes Fair is bringing our country into the future, where its slogan, a rootin' tootin' good time, okay, serves as a reminder for individuals with disabilities to harness their inner strength and courage. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Hillsborough County, Florida, does hereby declare October 6, 2018 as Disability Awareness, F.A.I.R, and Community Inclusion Day in Hillsborough County encourages all residents to support individuals with disabilities and to take part in activities at the 11th annual Yes F.A.I.R that raise awareness of persons living with disabilities. And of course, it's signed by all 7 county commissioners, and we're so proud of you, everything you've done. Would you like to say a few words?
Oh, man, where is it?
Here we go.
You keep moving it on me, so I never know where I'm supposed to be. This is really an exciting day for my people. The people with Yes are very excited about having every single one of you come out and break all records. This is our 11th year, and we are celebrating the Florida Cowboy, but it's really moving our country, quotes, into the future. So there is something there for everyone, and we expect to have around 3,000 people there. We have 2,000 vendors. We have food trucks. 200. What did I say, 200? You said 2,000. Oh, I'd like to have 2,000 vendors, but I don't know if all peoples could hold it. We're bursting at the seams right now. We have entertainment. We have Santa. We have makeovers. We have my hat falling off. We have different events for everyone. This is for the complete community to come out. Sandy will be out there. Ken will be out there to help us. We have Cheryl from the Temple Terrace Council coming out. We have people there that you can talk to and share what your concerns are. Without the support of this wonderful BOCC, our county commission, Yes could not do this. And I want to thank you so much. I don't know where she went. Are you still there?
Here.
Okay.
I just want
She walked away from me. Oh, no. Don't. I just want them to realize how much their partnership, their hosting of the events that Yes does throughout the year is making a difference in our community and our outreach. And you, as the people who live in this area, need to come out and have fun to this free, family-friendly event, free parking, free admission. Just come out and have a rootin' tootin' good time. Put on your hat, your boots, maybe blue jeans, maybe a dress. Yeah, you better wear something. But have some fun with us. And again, I want to thank every single one of my commissioners. They are awesome, and take the hat. They support what Yes does, and without them, we could not do our mission and our goals. So thank you so much for this honor.
Thank you. You want to take a picture?
Sure. Where's my hat? Well, how many times do I get to wear a hat? Never. Is this okay? Do I look good?
All right. 1, 2, 3. Sneak in for the second.
Thank you, Commissioner. Sorry, I didn't make it yesterday.
Our next commendation will be done by Commissioner Kemp.
Good morning. Today I'm pleased to recognize with a commendation on behalf of our Board of County Commissioners, the Hillsborough Area Regional Transit Authority, HART. And here to receive the commendation, I'd like to ask Jeff Seward to come up, Interim Chief Executive Officer, as well as Kenyatta Lee, Chief Administrative Officer and Interim Chief of Staff, Ruthie Reyes Burkard, Chief Operating Officer, committed to ensuring daily operations of the Transportation and Maintenance divisions of HART. Also, we have with us some of the drivers that have received recognition for driving, and I just can't imagine this, but 1 or 2 million miles without a preventable accident. So we have some of those here, some of those heroes here today. Cosme Garcia, 2 million miles, can you come up? As well as Tony. Tony Hernandez, 2 million miles. Tyran Williams, 1 million miles. Jimmy Suarez, 1 million miles. And Dinesta McBride, 1 million miles. And also Mark Henry, 1 million miles. So I'm so happy that you all were able to be with us. I guess there are 7 more drivers that have 1 million miles that are on the road today that couldn't be here, but I'm glad that we have this group with us. The commendation that we have here, and I'll hand it to you right there. The Hillsborough County Regional Board of County Commissioners is pleased to recognize the Hillsborough Area Regional Transit Authority for an excellent year of serving residents' transportation needs. Safely carrying Hillsborough County to where it needs to go has been HART's mission since 1979. HART carries nearly 40,000 people a day, 40,000 people a day to work, medical appointments, to buy groceries, to simply enjoy events and activities throughout the county. This year, Interim CEO Jeff Seward launched the 275LX, and that's a regional transit route that connects riders in Pasco and Hillsborough with Tampa International Airport. Interim Chief of Staff Kenyatta Lee was honored by the Tampa Bay Business Journal as the 2018 Businesswoman of the Year. That's amazing. I'll do a clap for that. And of course, the mightiest heroes of all are here. They're all the drivers who are on the road every day. Among those drivers, the illustrious 13 who were honored this year for carrying passengers for 1 or 2 million miles of travel without a preventable accident. These achievements are just a few of the examples of HART's contributions to our communities, the public service that you all do all the time. The Board of County Commissioners of Hillsborough County, Florida does hereby commend the Hillsborough Area Regional Transit Authority for its service to the community and wishes it many years of continued success. I'd like to ask Jeff if you have a few words that you'd like to share.
Thank you, Commissioner Kemp. On behalf of the staff of HART, our 40,000 plus a day riders, I want to thank the Board of County Commissioners for this recommendation, the commendation, and continued support, both financially, thank you, and policy driven. I want to specifically shout out to our operators that are standing here today. These are the best of the best, and without them, we have no organization. They are the foundation. So my hat's off to our operators who transport citizens all across Hillsborough County and continue with the great track record. And again, thank you for the commendation.
I know you're probably not prepared, but if you wanted to say a few words as Businesswoman of the Year.
Well, thank you. On behalf of HART and our staff and our Board of Commissioners, just want to thank you, our Board of Directors, I just want to thank you so much for doing this for us. It's an honor to be recognized for the hard work that we do every day and to ensure the safety of our citizens as well as our customers. We really appreciate you honoring us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kemp, and I also want to recognize the fine work that Les Miller does, our Commissioner Les Miller does as chair of the HART Board. Thank you, Les. Okay, Mr. Merrill, we are done with the presentations. Can we please review the changes to the agenda?
Yes. We actually only have one change. That's an item that was removed from consent for discussion by Commissioner Chris. That's A10. That's to advertise and set a public hearing to consider enactment of an ordinance pertaining to the regulation of vehicle for hire services. We have 4 time certains beginning at 10 a.m. First time certain is public hearing D1, and that's to approve the FY 2019 HART Capital Improvement Program, list of projects funded by transportation impact fees. At 10:15 is F1, that's Commissioner Chris' item, that's presentation from the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council on the Tampa Bay Regional Resiliency Coalition Initiative. At 10:30 is item E1, special appearance by Julian McKenzie, President and Chief Executive Officer of MOSI, to give you an update on what they're doing there. Last time certain is 10:45, that's B10. That's the 8th modification to the Tampa Bay Tampa Bay Passenger Ferry Interim Public-Private Partnership Agreement. Those are the changes to the agenda.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner White to approve the changes to the agenda. Please record your vote.
How would you like to vote? Yeah. Motion carried, 7-0.
Okay, we still having problems with the machines? Did all the other votes? Okay, so maybe, look, do you have a replacement device for Commissioner Miller? Yes, right, we'll do public comment. Okay. We're now going to go to the public comment portion of the meeting. The board welcomes comments from citizens about any issue or concern. Your opinions are valued in terms of providing input to the board members. However, it is requested at the same time when you address the board that comments are not directed personally against a commissioner or a staff member, but rather directed at the issues. This provides a mutual respect between the board members and the public. The board has set aside a 45-minute period in the morning immediately following changes to the agenda for public comment. At the discretion of the chair, the board may again hear public comments at the end of the meeting. People wishing to speak before the board during the public comment portion of the meeting should complete the electronic request for public comment form located in the lobby just outside the boardroom. Citizens speaking on scheduled agenda items will be heard before citizens speaking on non-scheduled agenda items. When addressing the board, please state your name, speak clearly into the microphone, and 3 minutes will be allowed for each speaker. And our first speaker today for on the agenda items is David Sinclair, followed by Gonzalo Valdez. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is David Sinclair, address 8434 Pebble Circle, Tampa. I live in District Number 1. I'm here to comment and encourage the commissioners present to support the concept of the Tampa Bay Regional Resiliency Coalition. I believe this is something very significant. I live here in the community. Within my neighborhood, I have conversation with neighbors concerned about climate issues and sea level rise. I'd like to share with you a few thoughts. Tampa Bay region is one of the nation's most vulnerable areas to the impact of changing climate, including sea level rise, intensive hurricane intensity, heavy rainfall, flooding, and other extreme weather events. The Tampa Bay Regional Resiliency Coalition has been formed as an example of how different intergovernmental agencies may cooperate together on these issues of concern. The agreement, I think, that will be presented to you later, talks about the significance of regional cooperation on this, and I think this is, as an adult, as a member of the community, I feel that is very important that our vision meet what we do in our planning, that we support such a coalition, that we become part of a region that cares about climate issues and sea level rise. I know that there are stressors in the community. I know that the vulnerabilities to sea level rise are significant. I believe that we need to be aware and open to these possibilities. We do not need to be deniers. So my concern is that if we can identify the vulnerabilities in our community, we will be smarter and wiser as we move forward in our planning. So I wish to support any effort to be made by the commissioners present to support the concept of belonging to this coalition in our larger community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Gonzalo Valdez, followed by Ann Paul. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here representing the over 2,000 members of Sierra Club in Hillsborough County, as well as the Environmental Justice Committee of the NAACP and the Tampa Bay Climate Coalition. I'm very excited to hear about the resiliency presentation going on today by Sean Sullivan from the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. I would like to commend the work that they're doing and urge Hillsborough County to sign on to that coalition. As David Sinclair just mentioned, we have huge concerns here presented to our area. I would just like to really quickly, I know we're not supposed to be addressing it personally, but Representative Murman, I spoke with some of your constituents, and there are some serious concerns in that area, specifically in the Riverview area. We've seen a very stark reminder of the dangers presented by hurricanes. Up in North Carolina, we saw a breach of a coal ash pond, which resulted in massive devastation for that community. As some of you might know, down in Apollo Beach, we have 8 such coal ash ponds residing in flood zones. These are TECO properties that we would like to see some resiliency efforts done to improve those conditions. Also, another stark reminder, as TECO is planning to modernize their coal plant to a gas plant, up in Massachusetts, there was a similar modernization that happened last week that resulted in 50 homes combusting into flames when the lines became overpressurized. Both of these serve as stark reminders of how unsafe and unpredictable fossil fuels can be. And as such, we shouldn't be continuing to invest in this. And as we continue to explore this conversation around resiliency, we should really think about these pollution concerns and these dangerous impacts that are presented to our area. Specifically to Commissioners White, Murman, and Kemp, I've spoken with you all personally about this issue, and I know you all consider yourselves very strong environmentalists. So I would just ask you all, we shouldn't keep investing in dirty fuels. We should be thinking resiliently, smartly, thinking more towards a cleaner future. And I ask you, as such, to consider solar more in this area, consider emphasizing that more in your conversations with the utility companies. And I pray that you do what is right and not just continue business as usual. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Ann Paul, followed by Susan Glickman. Good morning, Ann.
Thank you very much. I'm Ann Paul. I'm Regional Coordinator for Audubon, Florida's Coastal Island Sanctuaries. And we ask that you please consider 2 letters that Audubon, Florida Policy Leader Charles Lee sent to you recently. The first being the letter from the Southwest Florida Water Management District Executive Director Armstrong, who strongly expressed the district's commitment to the conservation work invested in the Fred and Ida Schultz Nature Preserve. This site has been restored and is providing important, valuable habitat for birds, wildlife, and even insects in this East Hillsborough Bay area. Secondly, the second letter is from Mosaic Vice President Mr. Schweiss, outlining the company's stance relative to the use of their property for a ferry terminal. Essentially, Audubon asks that regardless of what you decide relative to the future of the ferry, that you don't choose the Schultz Nature Preserve for the ferry terminal site on East Hillsborough Bay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ann. Susan Glickman, followed by David McAllister.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Susan Glickman. I'm the Florida Director of Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, and it's an honor to be here. My brother in 1984 served on this body as a Hillsborough County Commissioner, so feels very much at home. I was born in Tampa, at Tampa General Hospital, and the reason I mention Tampa General Hospital, I'm here to talk about the Regional Resiliency Coalition, because probably 4 or 5 years ago, Commissioner Chris and I started a conversation that began with, if we knew then what we know now, we might not have built Tampa General Hospital on an island. So as David Sinclair and others have mentioned, we do have challenges in the Tampa Bay region, particularly related to sea level rise and vulnerabilities to storm surge. In 2015, Karen Clark and Company, that does analyses for insurance companies, named the Tampa Bay area as one of the most vulnerable U.S. cities to storm surge, because we have wider, more gently sloping continental shelves and these large, shallow water areas. That produces more storm surges. So she estimated that we could face a potential of $175 billion in losses. So Ben Franklin, about 250 years ago, said an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So I appreciate the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council and other local governments that have stepped up to approve what is really just a planning process. Pat Gerard over at Pinellas County, when they approved this memorandum of understanding to participate in the Tampa Bay Regional Resiliency Coalition, just said simply, I guess we're just agreeing to be part of a planning process. So that's what's going to be in front of you. Sean Sullivan is going to be presenting. And the last thing that I just want to mention is just yesterday, the East Coast, Florida East Coast Regional Planning Council approved a process to do a resiliency coalition on that side of the state. So you may know that more than a decade ago, the Southeast Florida, 4 South Florida counties started a process, and they're moving along. There's efforts up in the Jacksonville and St. Augustine. They became keenly aware of some of their flooding problems around Hurricane Matthew, and now the East Coast Florida Regional Planning Council. So there are already 19 communities that have signed on to be part of the Tampa Bay Regional Resiliency Coalition. So we hope that Hillsborough County will join that illustrious group today. And thank you very much for your leadership, Commissioner Christ.
Thank you. And Commissioner Chris would like to make a comment. You recognize?
Susan, you've been at this a very long time, almost a quarter century, and you've been a strong advocate and very enthusiastic and quite frankly, very helpful in helping people see the truth that is out there. And I just wanted to say that you are an amazing person doing an amazing job. And your brother, yes, he served here in the 80s, but he also served with dignity and representing the Tampa Bay area in the Florida legislature in the 90s. And was a significant mentor for me, helping me to transition into an environment that I was completely new to. And you have an amazing family, and you're much appreciated.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Great. Thank you very much. David McAllister, followed by Irene Few. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Chairman. My name is David McAllister. I come here to advocate for an appreciation of local history and veterans, especially those of the period of the war between the states. And in terms of general historical matters, we have some items on the agenda today, A12, A13, A14, support for the historical preservation grants to help fix up, rebuild, whatever needs to be done to the Tampa Bay Hotel, Centro Asturiano, two really well-known landmarks in Tampa, and an Ybor City home. So I would urge you all to support that program, those particular grants. Now, I didn't get to speak last meeting. There was too many people on the public comment period. But this month, on September 7th, was Remembrance Friday. It was the anniversary of a shameful event in Tampa history, the removal of the Memoria in Eterna Veterans Monument at the courthouse annex right here. Even its historical marker was removed, which was not part of the motion. The Judy P. Benjamin Camp of the Sons of Confederate Veterans and Augusta Jane Evans Wilson, Chapter 2640 of the UDC, placed flowers as a memorial showing that we do remember. We can't place them at the current site because it's behind bars. There's no parking. There's no access. It's placed between a taco stand and a pawn shop on a busy commercial street. And we remember 1 year ago when the Board of County Commissioners flip-flopped on its vote to retain it right here, under pressure from Antifa, Black Lives Matter, various Maoists, and others with an anti-American agenda. We remember and will remember in November. And unfortunately, I see a trend. The Confederate Veterans Memorial was removed from a place where it had had permission to be. But recently, a Native American monument was removed supposedly because it had been placed where it had not yet been granted permission to be. Both of these had the involvement of Mayor Buckhorn. So I guess the question is whether it seems like he doesn't like Native Americans and their descendants and families any more than he likes Confederates and their descendants and families. So it just all seems that we're living now in a less diverse and less inclusive environment in this community. That's a bad trend. Thank you.
Thank you. Irene Few. Good morning.
Good morning, Irene Few. I waive my time in support of Hillsborough County participating in the Regional Resiliency Coalition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now take speakers on off the agenda items, and we'll start with Joanne O'Brien, followed by Brian Rodriguez. Good morning, Joanne.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to speak about closing Thrasher Drive, given the fact that the Hard Rock Hotel Casino put up a traffic light. Now it's getting even worse to get out of Thrasher Drive because people gridlock the block. Plus, the casino is building another parking garage for another 900 spots. This is going to put our street in more jeopardy with more increased traffic and parking. And we have a lot of issues going on in our neighborhood. One I can't speak about because it's coming before Commission on October 7th. So we need to be aggressive in our neighborhood and figure out a way how we can get a petition, who do we see, and how do we go about getting this done and getting this street closed, because a lot of us have to turn down to Kingsbury to go to Draper Place to make the turn either left or right at the light at the Draper garage. We have a Walton Way entrance and exit, which gets backed up in the afternoons, and also we have Harney Road and Walton. That's another disaster, that road, and it's becoming treacherous in our area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller, you're recognized.
So, Brian, good morning.
Good morning.
How long have we been working together?
Long time.
8 years.
Mhm.
Did you call my office about this issue?
No, but I believe Jerry Barron has spoken to somebody about it. She's on the Civic Association board.
I don't remember anyone calling, but my staff member, one of my staff members is going to meet you back here so you can talk to them about that. We'll see what we can do, okay?
Oh,
Next
okay.
time, just call my office.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. Brian Rodriguez, followed by Barbara Rutan. Did I massacre your name? You'll correct me, I'm sure, when you come up. Sorry about that. Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Brian Rodriguez, and I'm 32-year resident of Timber Pond Subdivision. And first of all, I want to thank the Hillsborough County Commission for helping us with our problem. We have some temporary relief in our neighborhood. It's not a good fix for us, but it's a step in the right direction. And I want to thank Sandy Freeman for last week, from 2 weeks ago when Victor Chris wasn't here. You stepped up and you ran a good meeting and you got the attention of people that needed to be. And I appreciate that, and so do my neighbors.
I would love to be Sandy Friedman, but I'm not.
Sandy Murman.
I am
I'm sorry.
Sandy Murman.
I'm sorry.
It happens a lot. Don't worry about it.
And I'm nervous, and I'm not a good speaker. But
no, you're doing great.
We had a fact-finding meeting at Brandon High School a couple weeks ago, and that night it rained. It was after y'all drained the road, and it was just like a 1/4 inch of rain. That's all it was, and it completely flooded our street back to where it was before it started. So it's not going to take much rain or any incident to flood our neighborhood again. I've asked, we're organizing in order to have a staff meeting, and what to emphasize that I want to do is, in City of Tampa permitting, you can permit to build a high-rise in the City of Tampa, and once you get approved, from the beginning of a high-rise to the end is usually 2 years to 3 years at the most. And we have a lift station that we're trying to get built with permitting that's been 5 years in the making, and they haven't started it, and it's been in the budget. So it's really, I don't know what the root of the problem is, but it seems to be something that needs to be done, because a lift station shouldn't be in design phase. How many different lift stations are there? I mean, if there are 10, I don't know, but there shouldn't be 5 years in design. And my outburst cost me, the sheriff giving me a warning here 2 weeks ago, but the thing was, the director sat here and told you that he's going to do something in March. But 2 years ago, he came to the commission and said the exact same thing, using a month, a different month, but he never says the year. I mean, it's really sad that we're going through this. And the engineer that attended our meeting, he blamed it on the developers. But I'm here to tell you, as a 32-year resident, I'm a kind of a quirk, but when I first moved into my neighborhood, I'm from West Tampa, and we have ditches, and just water just comes, it rains, and it goes into the river. But it's amazing how our storm system used to be. The rain would just wash away in 15 minutes.
Thank you for coming. Commissioner Chris, you're recognized. Commissioner Chris would like to make a comment.
Sorry.
That you may want to respond to.
Mr. Rodriguez, as you probably already know, my staff's been working diligently on this issue. It's much more complex than a simple lift station. You know, being able to capture the water and move the water isn't the challenge. It's where to put it. And that's where the engineers have had problems. Every time they've come up with a solution, what has happened is when it moves through the process and gets restudied by a new set of engineering eyes that look at a bigger picture, they send it back for a redo because it ends up flooding other neighborhoods down the pipeline. So it's one of those situations where you hear the old adage, in fixing plumbing, you fix the spot here and it leaks somewhere else down the pipe. In this particular case, it was finding where to put the water and where to put it appropriately so we don't create flooding somewhere else. Earlier in the week, the engineers all got together with me and my staff. We are organizing a meeting in your neighborhood within the next 2 weeks to unveil the plan that they're starting on now that will be done sooner than later, and then the secondary plan that they'll start on as soon as it can get permitted, which will involve drilling. To put it in simple terms, they're starting construction now on the lift station. To put it in simple terms, they're starting construction now on running pipes miles away to move the water to a new location where it shouldn't flood anybody else. That work will be done before the next rainy season. It will be done within a 12-month period of time or less, so that this won't be a problem for you next year. Where the problem lies is this fixes permanently 90% of the problem. If we have another El Nino or a major hurricane, the 10% still exists. To deal with that, they want to drill in the middle of the lake, and they want to clean the lake out so you get better saturation and there's less sludge to plug the hole that they want to drill down to the aquifer. It will be a reverse well. Instead of pulling water up, they'll be sending water down. And they feel that once we're able to lower the levels of the lake with the lift station, the permitting process on that reverse well will move a lot faster and a lot easier. It's not local permitting for that. That will be state permitting. But the fix is here, the fix is coming, and the fix is getting done. Temporarily, We've got multiple pumps that the county is renting that are bigger than what we normally use, with bigger pipes that are already running the water the way that we're going to be moving it. So I see a long list of folks that are here today, but I want to reassure everybody this problem is being addressed and this problem is being fixed. And there are people who, quite frankly, are still pulling my shoe out of their back end because this has gone on too long, and you're quite right. And there's a group of people here for the resiliency issue that would agree with you that climate is changing and water is rising. And it's from a variety of different reasons.
Thank you, Commissioner Chris.
If I could say a small remark to that. That's the most common sense resolution that I've heard of, and I've been living there the whole time. No one's addressed that in that way. Even if there's quirks in it that don't work out, that is a common sense solution, it sounds to me like.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, and I know the administrator gave me an update, and they do have a thorough plan. As I understand, I don't know if you want to comment.
I'd like to go next.
Okay. We'll have Commissioner Hagan would like to go next, but I'm going to ask our county administrator to make some comments. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I think Commissioner Chris did an excellent job at explaining things. I just want to thank you personally and your neighbors for being vigilant and staying on top of this issue. I have been working closely with our staff to do everything we can to expedite a solution. I know there's 4 temporary pumps that has increased the capacity that they can drain at one time. We are expecting an update in a week on the efforts to expedite this process, and my office and Commissioner Chris' office will be sure to stay in close contact with you. But just want to say thank you for being vigilant.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. And Mr. Merrill, do you want to make any comments?
I don't really have a lot to add. Commissioner Chris and I talked yesterday. My staff met with him. And we're doing everything we can given the geology and geography of this area. I mean, it's unfortunate because these homes that were built back in the 80s probably shouldn't have been built there given the geography of it. But, you know, that's, say, water in the bridge, but we'll just have to deal with it and fix it and do the best we can. I'm glad Commissioner Chris mentioned that given the geology and geography, there is not 100% fix. It's like a sink. And it's always going to be that way even after we clean out the lake. But I think if we can get a 90% fix, it's better than what you have now. And
Whole lot better.
I tell you, we've got everybody who is experienced working on this. So we'll do the best we can.
Thank you again.
Yeah.
Good news, Mr. Rodriguez. Help us coming. Next speaker, Barbara Roughton, and followed by Ron Menard. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Barbara Roughton, 629 Timber Pond Drive. I just want to thank you all so much for the 24/7 attention that you've been giving the water situation in our Timber Pond subdivision. The streets are passable now most of the time, and the hole that opened up at the Timber Pond and Timber Pond intersection has been repaired to be paved tomorrow, from what I hear. Several potholes have been filled in. That was an extra bonus. A small wall of dirt has been built to hold back Lake Mead from flooding Mook Street. And the pumps are manned and working. You know, we see people out there checking them at, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. So the streets are getting cleared in mere hours after it rains. Like Brian Rodriguez said, it used to be, 15 minutes or a half hour. Then they didn't drain at all, and now they're draining again. So we appreciate that. We are definitely going in the right direction. And I thank you all so much for your help in getting this to come to pass. Mr. Merrill mentioned the geology and geography of the area, and that maybe some of our homes shouldn't have been built where they are. So I just want to ask you again to be careful of further development. We've heard there's an apartment complex that's being considered to go in nearby. What effect will that have on the drainage in our area? Is that, so keep those things in mind. however that permitting process goes. I appreciate the sacrifices of everybody involved too, not just the commissioners, but the neighbors who have these noisy pumps in their yard to keep the roads open, the people outside our neighborhood who have these hoses now carrying the water out of our neighborhood. They're not impacted at all, but they're putting up with that. I appreciate that. And all these crews that are out working day and night to fix this. So please just keep working, keep tweaking. It's kind of like the whack-a-mole game. You fix one. They plugged up the storm drains so that the lake water doesn't back up into the streets, but now when it rains, the street water doesn't drain into the lake, so they pump it from the street into the lake. And, it's just going to take some, trial and error. And I just thank you for the permanent solution that's coming. I love your explanation of that. And
Very
I'll
good.
stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks for all your patience. And if there's any light at the end of the tunnel, the driest month of the year is coming up in November, so hopefully it will be dry. And our next speaker is Ron Menard, then Glenn, followed by Glenn Kemp.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Ron Menard. I've been a resident of the Timber Pond subdivision for about 10 years. As you're well aware, we've had some flooding issues in our neighborhood, and before the meeting 2 weeks ago, we did not feel as we had anyone's attention or that anything was being done about our issues. After we had some homeowners here, we definitely feel like our issues are being heard and addressed. And I'd like to thank the Board of Commissioners and their staffs for all of their efforts, the increased pumping capacity, and most importantly, with actually communicating with us. We've heard in the past from a lot of news stories that the Board of Commission was communicating with the homeowners, but as a homeowner, I wasn't aware of any communications still going on. So I spent the last few weeks communicating with many of the homeowners. We went around and looked at all the lakes and all of the ponds to get an idea of what's happening and what's going on. And I have been in communication with Commissioner Chris' office and Commissioner Hagan's office, and I do feel now like we are on the road to a resolution. I do look forward to meeting with the Commissioner's office and Public Works and seeing what the proposals are and working towards a solution, and to let you know that we're here to help and provide any support that we can, and we're in it for the long haul and looking forward to a resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, and we're in it with you. Glenn Kemp, followed by Mike Casarda.
Hi, I'm Glenn Kemp, 609 Timber Pond Drive. My next door neighbor is retired Tampa Fire Department Inspector Brian Rodriguez. The thing about percentages, when I bought my property out there, I asked a family attorney friend about buying land in Florida, and he said, just make sure it stays above water 100% of the time, not 99.9% of the time. He said, that's no good. Now, the county staff, when this subdivision was being built, their recommendations were overridden. They said, don't do it, and you're right. It was a big mistake. Also, that is the Lake Mead Basin. That is Lake Mead. There's no Lake Timber Pond, as we've heard it referred to. This thing is an environmentally protected area. It was never supposed to receive all this runoff from these other neighborhoods as designed in the Weir project. It was never supposed to happen. Matter of fact, on the dock in my backyard, Big Jim Selvey, Roger Stewart, Ed Radis, they all thought it was important enough to come over there and meet with us and see what was going on with that pond. And they reassured us when Davis Park was developed and everything that the lake would not be contaminated. We couldn't even run a motorboat in that lake. You had to use an electric motor. So that's been gone. The lake is contaminated and it's been overgrown. Now, my house is the second lowest elevation in the subdivision. We've been flooding over the last 7 years. The last 3 years, a lot of flooding. The roads are closed. Night before last, I had to park way down the block. The sheriff said, you can't do that, and take all my stuff home, and then in the middle of the night, go get my car and bring it back and put it in front of my house. So we're very, very upset because it's also unsafe. Now, we were built with 3 access and egress points. One of those was closed by the county to allow for a development of Phase 3 Timber Pond. It wasn't supposed to happen. Now with the roads closed, there's no way emergency vehicles can get in and out in a timely way. No way. Our safety is compromised. The water in the streets is contaminated. By the way, the roads are filthy. They're full of mud. So when the roads flood, and it's a whole subdivision, 256 units, drains down to right in front of Mr. Rodriguez's house and mine. So, and the other side of the lake. So it's noisy. Besides being filthy, the pump runs all night, and we're lonely because nobody's going to come visit you if they can't get to your house. So we have a long time loss of quality of life in our neighborhood. The Carolinas have suffered a tremendous bit of damage and suffering from heavy rains and flooding. But unlike Timber Pond, over time, these flooded areas will dry. The county has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in drainage for North Brandon. And by all indications, we'll spend hundreds of thousands more. Serious and long-term situations need and deserve serious discussion. Due to the real threats to our health and safety and the chronic nature of our situation, we have to have our county grant us a workshop with experts from Swift Mud in the county to arrive at an equitable solution. Thank you.
Mike Casarda, followed by Gerard Bear. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Mike Casarda. I live at 631 Timber Pond. I spoke a couple weeks ago too. I've been there since 1993, and this is my third flooding, so I'm a little calmer since I've been through it. I was going to tell Mr. Merrill to thank you, Public Works. The people out there are professional. They're the ones taking the brunt from a lot of irate residents, but they've all been great. They've never failed to at least give us the time and talk to us when we've walked up and they're driving their trucks and let us know what their parts are. So appreciate this time. You've got the emergency part down. I've seen it a number of times. The things you've got going on now work. I know because I've seen them work before. We shouldn't have to go there. The part that I brought up last time was, I heard what you're saying. I believe it. I heard it 10 years ago. I'm not mistaken. There was $900,000 in SIP funds that were done for what was supposed to be a permanent solution back at the turn. Here we are in 15 years later, and we're sort of hearing the same thing. So we know that you've got it right now to work on. We've got to live there. We're going to listen. The solutions that they provided before sounded reasonable. Let's see where it goes. But thanks for taking the time.
Thank you very much. Gerard Bear, followed by Jeffrey Weber.
Hello, my name is Gerard Bear. I live at 603 Timber Pond, been there for 32 years. My question is, can the county commission check with the county attorneys and find out how water was decided to be dumped into an environmentally protected lake? As Glenn Kemp mentioned originally, when we moved into the neighborhood, there was a Lake Mead. There were 2 retention ponds that were built by the developer at the insistence of Swift Mud. I don't believe the developers are too thrilled with it, where all the road water dumped into the retention ponds that were surrounding Lake Mead or Mead Lake. That way the street drains would drain into the retention ponds and not into the environmentally protected lake. Now we're getting all this road water from Timber Pond, from other developments that are draining down into the environmentally protected lake. How did it become no longer environmentally protected? If you could check that out, I'd appreciate it. Clearing the water out is great. We just need to find out how come it's there. Thank you.
We will definitely make sure that is checked out because we have a new environmental team now here at the county. Jeffrey Weber, followed by our last speaker, Dawn Rysowski.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Weber. I live at 221 Turner Street, Clearwater, Florida. I own property at the end of Clemens Road known as Weed Lake, surrounded by uplands. I have been affected by the current flooding. I have worked with the county staff since 2004 on this issue. With all due respect, I am skeptical of the new plan, but I here simply am to offer my services to be involved in discussions that you all may have with the stormwater staff.
Do you actually live in Timber Pond?
No, I have
Okay.
I have an approved development. I had planned to build a home there. but I have been flooded on and off since 2004, like my neighbors. And but again, I am here to help. I've been developing in this area since the late 80s. I understand the problems. I have probably a dozen engineers. And again, I have tried to work with county staff and Commissioner Christ. I have never heard a solution like they have proposed to you. So if I could be included in those discussions, it would be much appreciated.
Okay, thank you. Well noted.
Thank you all.
Commissioner Chris? No? You're recognized.
I know you said you were skeptical, and if I was in your shoes, I would be too. I have lived through the horror of being flooded multiple times in my life, growing up in and around water, so I am personally sensitive to the issue. And let me assure you, I am up against their backside until this gets done.
Will I be included?
If you want to be included, make sure my staff and Commissioner Hagan's staff has the contact information so that we can get through to you.
Thank you, but I will send it again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who's not a resident?
That's fine.
Our last speaker is Don Rysowski. Good morning.
First, I'd like to thank everybody for everything you've done at Timber Pond. I live at 617. My boyfriend here owns the home, but I can talk a little bit more, I think. We did do a lot of, what I wanted to talk about today is the lake, because we did a lot of work in the lake over the last few years. We had, with a few of our neighbors, including Brian, we had got an airboat and had it sprayed, and we hand took out all of the tussocks that were in there and the weeds and everything. I did bring pictures that I could give to you and pass around, but I wanted to share that since 2015, and we've done that, and it took us, after work every day, the weekends, trying to get that all out, that we got it clear, and it was good for our neighbors to be able to use it, to the children go out in the canoes, for us to go out and fish. We've actually fished, caught, and released in there, and some of the fish have had things on them, so it's like the contamination of what's going on in that lake. And so we still try to go out there and have fun, but you can't, you have to push through the weeds. There's no lake left. I did start from 2015 going through today. There is a picture of him holding part of what the tussock, how thick it is, which I'll give these to you, 14 to 16 inches, all that. And there's so many more tussocks out there now just covering the entire lake that I don't know how the lake can evaporate to be able to stop the flooding problem. And when I looked at the University of Florida, they do state in there that with tussocks and floating tussocks and such, and those thick weeds like the lake lettuce and hyacinth that we have, that it will hinder flooding issues. So it's causing, I believe that our lake is causing part of our issues, and if we could get help getting that cleaned out, because we're not getting any younger in our houses, and to do that every 3, it takes a couple years to get that out by hand when you're not allowed to use machinery, and it's a lot of work. And we've tried really hard to keep the lake under control and the flooding and on our half, and that's just something I wanted to see if someone could take into consideration, is the lake and how thick those tussocks really are. It's not just floating weeds out there. It's very thick and very full. So I appreciate everything that you've done for us so far. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Can I
coming
hand this
down.
to you?
Yes, if you give them to the clerk over here, she'll pass them out to us.
Madam Chair, just to
Yes.
answer that question, as soon as the rainy season stops in a month or so, the other part of the plan that I don't think was mentioned is to go in and do a comprehensive cleanup of the lake. That'll also enable us to determine whether we can, in fact, essentially punch a hole in the lake to use that as a drain. So as soon as the rainy season's over, we'll begin to do the comprehensive cleanup.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, that does conclude our public comment, and we need to approve the consent agenda.
Move consent.
We have a motion to approve consent by Commissioner White, seconded by Commissioner Higginbotham. Commissioner Higginbotham, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. And I see that the item A10 was pulled. I know we'll address that at the end of the meeting, but due to conflict with family, I may have to leave before we get to that item. And I just wanted, I see Paul Johnston is here, and I wanted to just commend you publicly and say thank you for you and your team for what you did to find a solution. It turned out to be very obvious and very simple. But
Yes, sir.
From the bottom of my heart, I wanted to just say thank you and glad that this will move forward.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
That was all.
And we do have the option, of course, of approving the consent agenda and then taking up 810 right after that. Would you rather us do that, Commissioner Higginbotham? Yeah, we'll do that. So we have a motion by Commissioner White, seconded by Commissioner Hagan. On the consent agenda, I thought it came from you. Is there any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, please record your vote.
Motion carried, 7-0.
And I know we're supposed to go right to public hearings, so could I have a motion to go out of order here on the agenda? We have a motion by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner White. Please record your vote. Take up A10.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Okay, we're on item A10. Paul, you have the floor.
Good morning, Commissioner. Paul Johnston, County Attorney's Office. Commissioners, back in March, the staff working on the implementation of the vehicle for hire ordinance saw that there were going to need to be some changes to the original ordinance passed in last October. And we have been working on it. We have drafted amendments to the ordinance, and we're asking the board now to set a public hearing to consider those amendments.
Okay, thank you very much for your explanation on A10. Commissioner Chris, you're recognized as you pulled the item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I pulled it because on these particular issues, which I've been watching very closely for the past 8 years I've been here, I know that there's always the devil in the details, and I wanted to make sure that we thoroughly understood the details. Because this is quite complex, and this is not the first bite at the apple. This is one of the multiple bites at the apple. What my concern was, I wanted to make sure that the consumer protections were not being eroded away. And after our discussion with the attorneys last night, I'm comfortable that the work that's been done here is glitch language to kind of make things easier to administer and to carry out the responsibilities of regulation.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Are you making a motion to approve A10?
I make the motion we approve A10.
Do I have a second? We have a motion by Commissioner Chris, second by Commissioner Miller to approve item A10. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Higginbotham, are you satisfied? Okay, very good. Okay, please record your vote.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. And now we're ready to go into our regular agenda.
Yes, 10 a.m. Public hearing D1.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Hudox, Public Works Department. Commissioners, this is the public hearing to approve the FY19 HART Capital Improvement Program list of projects funded by the Transportation Impact Fee per interlocal agreement with HART. In addition, this will earmark up to $99,990 in transportation impact fees over the next 5 years, subject to actual collections for the HART Capital Improvement Program in accordance with the Hillsborough County Consolidated Impact Assessment Program Ordinance. We have Dan Rodriguez here with HART this morning in case you have any questions on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And I know you don't come before us very often, but you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I just have to say he's very responsive to my office and really is doing a great job for us. So, okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of item D1? Oh, okay. Good morning.
Good morning, Gary Cloyd. Thank you, Madam Chair. D1 is very interesting in the fact of all the numbers look good. I wanted to bring up to the board's attention that there were 2 or 3 zones that HART asked not to collect money from and were in consideration how to collect other monies as you go around and do your budget for FY 2019. I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of item D1? Anyone to speak in opposition to item D1? Motion by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Kemp to approve item D1. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please record your vote.
Motion carried, 7-0.
And your 10:15 time certain, F1, which is Commissioner Chris' item.
Great, thank you very much. Commissioner Chris, you're recognized to open the item.
Thank you. I'd like to call Sean Sullivan, Executive Director of Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. Before we discuss the issue, I think, Sean, this is your first time up before us, isn't it?
It is, Commissioner, yes.
This is the relatively still new director that went through a really rigorous search, a national search, that the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council Board, when I was chair, made the choice to hire. Take a good look at this man. He's a very, very unusual professional in our market. Probably the most knowledgeable man on transportation matters anywhere in this state. He was in charge of the regional transportation efforts in the Boston area, where he brought all modes of transportation together to move literally millions of people. And he decided he wanted warmer weather to be closer to his kids, and we were able to woo him down here. But this is the guy that knows everything there is to know about moving masses and mass transportation. And we're very pleased with the work that you have done with the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, and you're just an all-around really good guy. We refer to him fondly as Sully, and he's quite a lot of fun when it comes time for St. Patrick's Day. Before you start, I just want to give like a little background. We have a lot of different temperaments, talents, convictions, and political ideals up here at this podium and in the audience. I want you to understand this is not a political perspective. The politics is out of this. It's not a partisan perspective. The partisanship is out of this. What this is focusing on is the unified science that everybody has signed off on, and that is basically that the climate is changing, not to our favor, and that the polar ice is melting for whatever reason, and that's where the arguments are. It's melting, and we are getting higher water levels. Everybody agrees we are getting higher water levels, and I've lived on the water. I still have property on the water, and I can testify to the fact that the water is rising, regardless of what the reason is. To that end, the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, made up of 5 counties and all of the cities within the counties, have come together to form the Tampa Bay Resiliency Council to take a look at what we should be talking about, thinking about, and doing together to deal with rising water. And we have done a good job of taking the politics out of it. So to that end, the purpose of the Tampa Bay Regional Council's Tampa Bay Resiliency Council is to bring Tampa Bay counties and cities, all of them, together at the same table to discuss options that we can mutually agree upon to collectively deal with the rising waters in our region. To that end, we have hammered out a letter of agreement that we believe all of the politics are out of it, that every county and city in our region should be able to sign, saying that we are going to work together to try to address the flooding and the water issues as the waters rise. And I've asked Mr. Sullivan to be here today to present to you that joint resolution that we're going to vote on whether or not we're willing to sign on to. But I want to let you know that there are many counties and cities already signed on to it. No one has said no, to the best of my knowledge. And there are still some yet to come, but we're looking for unification. There's federal and state money that could be granted to the regional council to continue working together to address this, I understand. And that's one of the genesis behind us doing this. Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Christ, Commissioner Christ, and Chair Murman, members of the Board of County Commissioners, and thank you for that introduction. It was wicked awesome.
We'll have to have a beer over.
If I could, I'd like to take a couple of moments this morning, if I could, to further expand upon what Commissioner Chris said about a new initiative that the Regional Planning Council is undertaking. It's called the Tampa Bay Regional Resilience Coalition. Essentially, it's a group of governments within the Tampa Bay region, and as of last night, we had 20 governments have voted to sign on to the MOU. To develop a resiliency plan for our region as a result of rising sea levels. So like Commissioner Chris mentioned, we have 6 counties and 21 member governments in our region. We have 13 gubernatorial appointees, 3 ex officios. Our area is comprised of 5,000 square miles and 3.5 million people, Hillsborough County being the most populous county certainly in the region. So we talk about resiliency, and it's a newer term, certainly, I think we've all heard more frequently lately. I particularly like the last sentence of the third definition from Wikipedia, which in my opinion means, in reading this, that resiliency is the ability to absorb or avoid damage without suffering complete failure. And I know we all recall last year with Hurricane Irma, we certainly had some challenges. So the Regional Planning Council identified some of those challenges. We held a regional forum in November of last year, and we subsequently followed that up in January with the appointment of the chair of a steering committee to initiate this effort. And this briefly describes some of the studies that the Regional Planning Council has done over the course of the last 57 years. We did a study approximately a year and a half ago now called The Cost of Doing Nothing, and it projected the economic impacts of sea level rise in the region. And we used a methodical process. We used GIS and economic data. But as currently assessed, one of the findings, and this would predicate it on 3 feet of sea level rise by 2060, that potentially $400 billion worth of property would be at risk by the end of the century. This is our logo.
Our new logo.
Our new logo, correct. And Commissioner Christ had your input, and that was very much appreciated. Well, it's an initiative of the Regional Planning Council. The committee itself, there's a steering committee comprised entirely of elected officials from throughout the region. We're fortunate that Commissioner Christ sits on that committee. There is also a technical advisory committee that has been appointed by the chair, and it's comprised of members of what I call from the scientific community, so that we all agree on the same base level science. Work groups are in the process right now of being established so that we involve essentially anyone and everyone who has an interest to join this effort. And we are going to establish communication pathways from committees in counties, in cities. And then we identify some of the regional priorities which we're beginning to do, but they will include as a minimum of the built environment, flooding, government initiatives, social equity, and certainly transportation. So the council recognizes that we face the same future and climate uncertainties. Our economies are all tightly connected. And as Commissioner Chris said, we have specifically avoided the political discussion and just tried to focus on how do we develop a resiliency plan that will improve the quality of life for the residents of Tampa Bay. So we're working together, creating guidelines. We're hopefully will develop best practices, and we would ideally like to leverage regional resilience efforts to enhance funding and increase competitiveness for grant funds. And I would like to say that there is no cost to the county. I'm not here to ask you for money. The Regional Planning Council will fund this effort, and then we hope as moving forward we'll be eligible for both state and federal grant dollars to help us further the effort. So as I mentioned, the genesis of the initiative began really in January of this year. Some of our goals are to respond to shared challenges, voluntary collaboration. As I mentioned as of last night, 20 member governments in the Tampa Bay region have voted to sign on to help us with this collaboration. The commitments are essentially policy coordination, use a common baseline from a scientific standpoint to help develop a regional action plan, and then we plan to have an annual summit in the fall of each year to share what we have done and to learn from each other. Some of the benefits, and I've heard Commissioner Murman say this one, particularly as it relates to transportation, is one region, one voice. We embrace that. We'd like to have progressive planning. We'd like to leverage the resources that are vast throughout the Tampa Bay region. We'd like to build regional capacity among member governments, expand the expertise of staff, and elected officials and committee members, broaden our partnerships with the private sector, because we think the private sector is a critical and a crucial partner in this effort, and then to inspire innovation from all. We will culminate what I call Phase 1. In Phase 1 is asking and seeking as many member governments in the region to sign on, with a signing ceremony on October 8th. And if you haven't all received a written invitation, you should be receiving that any day now. We would welcome you to come over to our office in Pinellas Park. We think we have a good story to tell. We think we're on the right side of the ledger, one region, one voice. And if I could just conclude with a quote that's been we've talked about at our steering committee meetings, and that is, living in the Tampa Bay region, we truly live in paradise. But living in paradise comes with great responsibility. And I would respectfully suggest that the responsible thing to do is for this region to move forward and develop a resiliency plan that works for all of us. And I look forward to your participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. Commissioner White, you're recognized for...
Well, I want Commissioner Chris to finish up.
Commissioner Chris, are you finished?
Sully, you did a great job. And again, and this has been through a lot of discussions. The Regional Planning Council, having representatives from all the counties, all the cities, plus gubernatorial appointees, is a large council that sits around a very big table. And we've had a lot of discussions, some friendly, some heated over this. And over a course of 18 months, you know, hammered out policy that everybody concurred on. And I think what we have before us is a genesis of a beginning of unity moving forward to protect our homes and our communities from flooding in the future, and for us to work together. And as Sully mentioned, he's not asking for anything other than our cooperation as a partner. He's not asking for money or resources or anything. That we have that at the council. And there's more to potentially come if we can show that we have organized and that we're working collectively together to the state and the federal government.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner White, you're recognized.
Thank you. Commissioner Chris, so is this just a presentation of the board, or are we going to be asked to vote on something, or?
I'll be asking the board, I'll be making a motion that we agree to sign on to the resolution as a partner in the Resiliency Initiative.
Now, I've seen a resolution sort of floating around, but it's not in our formal backup materials. How are copies of that
should have been
distributed?
It should have been there.
It was not. I just looked on the computer. It was not in the backup.
If I can.
I happen to have a copy of it because I think I got it when I met with Susan.
Normally, reasonably, it is customary that the backup be there when we have a presentation, and I apologize if it's not there.
Especially if we're voting on something.
We post whatever we get. We didn't get it, so.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Commissioner White, you still.
I'll give Commissioner yield the floor back to Commissioner Chris.
Well, I can get a copy delivered here rather quickly, but I'm sure you're probably going to want to read through it. I could assure you there isn't anything in there that would create any heartburn for anybody here, but I'm sure you're probably going to want to read it yourself. I mean, it's the will of the board whether we're willing to move forward now or wait till the next meeting to ratify it. I know that the council's trying to get everyone on board before we do the formal signature. Sully, when's the formal signature taking place? October 8th. Will we meet again prior to October 8th?
October 3rd.
So realistically, we could ratify our partnership on the 3rd to still be represented on the 8th. That might be something that the board might be more comfortable with.
Okay, Commissioner White, you recognize.
Well, I just want to start by saying, Commissioner Chris, that I appreciate your leadership in bringing this forward. As you know, I serve as Vice Chair of the Tampa Bay Estuary Program Policy Board, sit on the Florida Aquarium Board of Directors, and I've championed many conservation and environmental issues. So I want to help you on this matter. But we have a resolution that's it's not in the backup materials. I happen to have obtained a copy as well. I don't think the entire board has a copy, though. So we haven't really had a chance to lay eyes on it. I do think this warrants some further analysis. Mr. Merrill, as was mentioned earlier, does have his new environmental team in place that may want to take a look at this, and he may even want to engage some stakeholder agencies like the Planning Commission or the EPC on this board's behalf. So what I'd like to do is make a motion to go ahead and accept this presentation that was given to us today, but to send the draft resolution to Mr. Merrill in order for him to work with stakeholders and applicable agencies to develop recommendations for the board. And if you'd like to see that by October 3rd, I'm sure staff could turn that around.
That's what I'm going to say, is I can understand for everybody up here to have comfort that this would probably need to be done, but I'd like to see it expedited so that we can bring this to a resolution on October 3rd.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner White, seconded by Commissioner Higginbotham. Commissioner Miller, you're first up. You're recognized.
Well, I have not seen the resolution, and that's an issue with me. We haven't seen the resolution, but I'm trying to figure out why would we send this to Mr. Merrill for, number one, having our department, that's our department looking at it with our stakeholders, and having this done by October 3rd. I think that's puts us under a timeline that maybe we may not be ready by October 3rd, and I think this whole ribbon cutting is serious business that we should be a part of it. It's just my concern when we have it done by October 3rd with the motion that Commissioner White put forth. I think it's going to bog it down. I don't know if we'll be done by October 3rd. And I think realistically, Hillsborough County, being the largest county within this whole jurisdiction of what we have, needs to be out there in front. I don't know why we're talking about sending it to stakeholders. I think it's just going to bog down the process. Don't know if I can support the motion. But I have not seen the resolution, which I would like to see.
Can I just ask you, Commissioner Miller, my thoughts when I saw the item was that I don't claim to know anything about this the science, anything regarding this, but my first thought was I want to hear from the EPC. And I know we have a meeting next week. Is this something that we could send to them? I know you're chair of the EPC.
I think the EPC will do it much faster than what the process is in the motion. So if the motion would say to send it to the EPC and have it brought to the board, the EPC board by next Thursday, that way I think we'd have it ready by October 3rd. I think right now, going through the process that the motion has, it's going to bog it down. We won't be ready.
Okay, so are you amenable of just making your motion to send it to EPC?
I'm actually not, because the draft resolution that I've obtained a copy of speaks to Hillsborough County government, this board. So I know Commissioner Higginbotham withdraw his second, and I would just opt to not make a motion and just listen to further discussion.
Can I ask a question?
Commissioner Miller, you're recognized.
Commissioner White, you're saying the resolution opts to this board, but EPC is this board, a part of this board. What's the difference?
Well, it's the same people, but it's two different bodies, though. I mean, there's Hillsborough County government and there's the EPC. We wear both hats.
I understand that, but then in your motion that you originally had, you were saying you sent it to our partners. What partners are you talking about?
Well, I had mentioned Mr. Merrill and his staff working with stakeholders. That would primarily be, these folks, and then also engaging stakeholder agencies such as the Planning Commission and the EPC. If we work it through our county staff, Mr. Merrill and his team may want to engage Ms. Doherty and her staff at the EPC, may want to talk to folks like Melissa Zornita. The list could go on and on. So.
I just don't see why just going to the EPC, having them look at this, and if you want to have Mr. Merrill's staff with it, those two, his staff and our own agency, the EPC, could not rectify this and have it back to us, brought to us by next Thursday. We look at it at that particular point in time and bring it back by October 3rd. I think the other process just weighs it down, slows it down, and we won't be ready by October 3rd. That's my concern. So I don't know if his motion still stands or not.
No, he withdrew his second. Okay. So are you inclined to make a motion to send this to the EPC and to work with the environmental team at the county?
Yes, that's my motion, that we send it to the EPC, work with the environmental team at the county, bring an answer back from the EPC by our meeting next Thursday, and that way we'll know what we're talking about to have it ready for the full board, this board, by October 3rd.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Miller. Do we have a second? Okay, second by Commissioner Higginbotham and Kemp. Commissioner Chris, you're in the queue. You're recognized.
You know, I understand the board needs to do what they got to do to have a level of comfort. The resolution has been passed out. Everybody has it. It's only 3 pages. It's very simple. It's very easy. But I know you want to have other expert eyes look it over and render their thoughts and opinions. I think Commissioner Miller's resolve to this is reasonable, and we'll be supporting it, provided we can get it on the agenda for the 3rd and make our decision on the 3rd, because it is crucial for us to be a part of this monumentous occasion, and that's going to happen on the 8th, because it'll be one of the first to happen, in fact, be the first to happen in the state of Florida and one of the first in the country for a region to come together on this, and it will put us at the forefront of any opportunities to get grant dollars at the feds and state level to be able to do the things that we want to do to help protect our citizens. So, yes, I'll be supporting the measure.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner White, you're recognized. You're still in the queue. Okay, thank you. We don't have any more comments. We have a motion by Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner Higginbotham and Kemp. Does the regional plan, I have a few questions. Does the Regional Planning Council include Manatee and Sarasota?
Not Sarasota, but it includes we do include Sarasota? No, we don't. We just picked up a 6th one. I said 5 because when I was chair we had 5, but we have 6 now. We picked up Hernando. So we have Hernando, Citrus, Pasco, Pinellas, Manatee, and Hillsborough.
Okay.
And all of the cities within those counties.
Okay. I have a lot of questions about this MOU, and there is divergence of opinion outside on the actual issues contained in the MOU, so I'm glad it's going to EPC. That's why I was glad Commissioner Miller did do that, and I'll be looking forward to getting some of these answers, because I do think there are engineers out there that don't always agree with the scientific methods that are used on some of these issues. And I think that's my concern, is how do we get to that level of agreement? And by doing an MOU, does that mean we agree with one side versus the other? And so that's only my concern. I don't, like I said, I don't claim to know much about the science involved in this, but it is something that does concern me. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd just like to point out, and not to kind of pile on this, but more specifically, about a year ago, I got up before this board. It was on the front page of the local section, where I asked for staff to report back with regards to climate change and the fact that, or rising sea levels and how we should deal with it in Hillsborough County. An article was in the Washington Post saying specifically that Hillsborough County was not dealing with this, and again, or didn't have any comprehensive plan as opposed to other counties in the region. And this morning we did hear from the Timber Pond people, and I think we can expect to hear, we heard also that maybe that area shouldn't have been built in, or something around it shouldn't have been developed. And we were asked by one of the residents who got up about having a workshop. So I'm still awaiting, and this is kind of outside this, but more specifically, because I would like us to be looking at and understand kind of more robust actions we're taking in relation to this. And so I think it would be very good, outside of any of this, for us specifically to focus and have a workshop, to have a report back on, which we've never really had at this board since a year ago that I asked, to report back on how Hillsborough County will be looking at climate change. And so I feel like this is tied into this conversation, and this is what we're hearing now. So I just want to bring that concern forward, that we've that I could see where we should have a workshop. I'd like to have a more specific report back from the requests that I made last year and start to move more robustly within our county to deal with what seem to be very pressing issues.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion on the floor. Oh, Commissioner Miller, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Doherty is in the back of the room. Ms. Doherty, if this passes, do you understand what we're requesting? She's the Secretary Director
Oh,
of
I
EPC.
couldn't see her back there.
Good morning, Commissioners. I have been listening to all of your dialogue concerning this issue, and I do think the Regional Planning Council is on a time frame, and that seems to be the issue. The Memorandum of Understanding will not be with us. It will be with the county. I know that Mr. Merrill could turn it around, I think, very quickly with stakeholders. You just solicit input. We have a team that reviews it as well. But we'll do whatever the commission wants, whatever the administrator wants to expedite any oversight of this memorandum of understanding. But the reality is it's actually with the county. It will not be with our agency.
That's understandable. It's going to be with the county.
Yes, sir.
But we're asking you, if this passes, to review it with Mr. Merrill's staff.
Absolutely.
Have an answer for us, a recommendation or whatever, at the meeting on Thursday, a week from today, so this board can vote on October 3rd.
Okay, so we'll bring it back at our EPC meeting this Thursday. We'll review it. We'll expedite it immediately.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Chris, excuse
Ms.
me,
Doherty.
Commissioner Chris,
Thank
you
you,
need to
Madam
be
Chair.
recognized. Thank you.
We have a very competent and very hardworking and a very committed chair in Commissioner Miller, and I'm proud to be his vice chair. And both of us are very interested in expediting this. But to
Yes,
put
sir.
it in perspective, Mr. Merrill, what we're doing is the staff of the PTC is going to review the PTC. Sorry about that. We were talking PTC earlier. The Environmental Protection Commission will review this, get back with the appropriate staff that you put together to converse so that when we come back on the 3rd, both your staff will be well briefed and the staff of the EPC will have a great understanding of what is here and both be able to answer questions and make recommendations to this board as a body to make a decision. Is that correct, Commissioner Miller?
Yep,
Okay.
that is correct.
All right.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Higginbotham and Kemp. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please record your vote.
Motion carried 6-1. Commissioner White voted no.
That takes us to your 1030 times certain E1. It's a presentation from Julian McKenzie, President CEO of Mosey.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Higginbotham, would you like to be recognized to introduce? Thank you. You're recognized.
Well, not to introduce, but as Robert Thomas and Julian McKenzie come up, as you know, I had to step down because of scheduling conflicts from the Mosey board, and Commissioner Miller has replaced me. But as we get started, I just want to commend these two men for the work they've done. Robert, you're such an asset to this community for what you've done with all your activism, and especially with Mosey. It's no fun to go to board meetings when things are difficult, and you dug in, and your leadership and your insight and your business background has led to great things, one of which was making sure that Julian McKenzie was on board. I want to cite some things about Julian that appeared June 1 in the Tampa Bay Business Journal. So we all know who we're dealing with and the depth and strength of Mr. McKenzie. He came on board in 2016 as CFO and then later became our CEO. He has a range of business leadership roles in the U.S., France, the UK, the Netherlands, and Italy. And they include global accounting, planning systems, management for nonprofit airline telecommunication network cooperative, overseeing European finance, manufacturing, and a distribution operation for a U.S. medical device company, Boston Scientific. He is fluent in English, French, Italian, and Portuguese. He was born in Switzerland, lived in Rome for 20 years, attended a boarding school a Jesuit boarding school in England, Lancashire, England. He races sailboats, The one thing in your business background that was overlooked is that you do have an expertise in directing of traffic and parking control, which we learned through the eclipse last year. But he's a man who took over, had to downsize, not only the facility, but staff. It was through good leadership with our board chairman and our CEO that morale was maintained. A lot of people don't realize that Mosey was closed down for several months as we retooled and rebuilt this operation. And I'm going to pass this down to the clerk to have this article entered into the record here with the commission. And Deanna in my office, I'm going to pass this one down, but she'll print you a clean copy because this one has notes on it. But I just wanted you to understand the depth of Julian before he speaks and makes his presentation, because he's done a difficult job, or a great job in difficult times. And I'm proud that you're here in this community, and look forward to seeing, as I move on, sometime next year, that to see great things from you. So the floor is yours, gentlemen.
Good, great introduction.
Thanks for those kind words. Commissioner Higginbotham was also fully integrated into the process as well, so we'd be remiss without acknowledging his input and attendance at pretty much every single meeting that we've had. And we're going to miss you, but we're looking forward to having Commissioner Miller take his spot in representing the county. We may have some other board members here from Mosey that need to be recognized, maybe not. Don't see any hands going up, but it's been a real interesting year since we were here last. And when we talk about Mosey being downsized and reformatted, there's one factoid that just continues to come into my head that I think really encapsulates the essence of our process. And that is that a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we had 300,000 square feet in a science museum format. We now have approximately 34,000 square feet, but we have 90% of the exhibit space remaining that we had in the 300,000 plus square feet. So I think that's absolutely remarkable. It sort of boggles the mind, really, that you can downsize something 90%, but still, retain the essence of what the museum was all about. And that goes to Julian's credit and his staff's credit. So thank you for all your support. We couldn't have made it without Hillsborough County, Mr. Merrill, his staff, and of course, Mr. Vennick was also very much involved. And it's been a real community effort, and it's been something that I've been proud to be a small part of. So I'll turn it over to Julian.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Commissioner Higginbotham, for your very kind words. Before I get started, I'd like to recognize my management team that is here with me. All that we have done has been, very much their effort. It's been a very strong team effort that we've been able to get to where we are. I hope the presentation's going to work. Right. Since we first opened, Mosey has been able to touch about 16 million people since 1982. Unfortunately, as you all were aware, we had some significant financial issues. In 2016, Mosey had lost about $1.5 million, and we had to make some significant changes. And, a year ago, we came to you and asked you for your support, and I'd like to thank the board for the support, because personally, I've been given the opportunity to have the best time of my life enjoying and doing what I have done in the last 18 months, even though we went through a lot of difficult moments as part of this transition. The plan that we had a year ago was to reduce our footprint, and as Robert mentioned, we went from 300,000 square feet of building and only lost about 10% of our actual exhibit space. We closed for 3 months, and the whole team came together to make sure that we came back with something, that we reopened with something that was viable, that was sustainable, and that was interesting for the community. We went from 65 full-time employees down to 24. And as I mentioned, the whole team came together. It was very much a team effort that pulled this off. And I can only thank my staff and team for the effort that they have made so far. We changed some things. We moved from STEM to STEAM. And so we added art into our equation. And we were even able, notwithstanding the fact that we were closed for 6 weeks of last financial year, to post a moderate surplus, which was the first time in a number of years. As I mentioned, we added art. And this is quite an interesting thing. We have our resident artist who paints, and every so often when he has a school group, he will get a group of kids round the whiteboard and ask them to draw something, with the rule that they can only ask him to draw one part of an animal. So here we see an alligator with a giraffe's head, a horse's hoofs, kangaroo pouch, and obviously Mickey Mouse. But why do I mention this? Because this has inspired a young girl to come in and do her own version of it. So Mosey has been able to inspire the kids that come into, and that, I believe, is Mosey's core mission. Since reopening, we've had 133,000 people come through Mosey. We've had over 32,000 children attend a field trip. And we've done 183 days of outreach, impacting nearly 16,000 kids. And this year, we're on track to post a good surplus. Our outreach programs have been very strong, and I think that is the core mission of Mosey. We have been at certain schools, and here we have 2 examples of the results that we have been able to achieve in those schools, or contributed to achieve in those schools. We've increased in one particular school, 5th grade passing rates for science went up by 330%, from 14 to 47. 8th grade went from 16% to 35%, showing that our community benefits from having an institution such as Mosey in its midst. I always like to talk about the solar eclipse, and I say if there is one regret, I think we closed Mosey a week too early. Last year we had the eclipse, and we had over 5,000 people at Mosey. And we all have a good story, but I think this one really is the best that I've heard thus far. A lady went up to one of my colleagues, and she saw that we had 5,000 people on the parking lot at Mosey. And she was very worried about the number of people there. So she asked us, could we start the eclipse any earlier? Vision for our future, as I mentioned, is outreach. And we're in the process of trying to obtain a number of vans to go out and impact nearly 220,000 kids. We need to try and reverse this trend where 50% of the children lose interest in science by the time they get to 8th grade. And that impacts our community as a whole. And I think Mosey is ideally positioned to do this in our community. And with that, I would like to thank you, and thank you again for your support that has enabled us to get thus far.
Well, you're fantastic. Commissioner Miller, I'll ask him to make some closing remarks. Would you like to make your comments now?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. McKenzie, thank you very much. I attended my first board meeting since Commissioner Higginbotham stepped down, and I took it over as a board member this past Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Let me say this. When I was on the board before, I sit back and thought about what it was like. We were sitting in the middle of a Category 6 hurricane. I don't think it goes in a higher than Category 5, but we were in the middle of a Category 6 hurricane that was on our doorsteps there. And guess what? We had no shelter, nothing to do to protect ourselves there. I could not understand what we were doing at that particular point in time, and it made no sense whatsoever. I went to board meeting this past Tuesday, and what a breath of fresh air it is at Mosey right now. There's still a long way for us to go. I know we can get there under your leadership and your staff's leadership, and I'm just happy to be a part of that board now and willing to say that whatever this county can do to help out, we're here. But I think you have it in good hands right now. You have a dynamic staff from what I could see there for the short period of time I was there with you. I think you're turning this thing in the right direction and doing the right thing with Mosey. So I want to compliment you for what you've done and let you know from what I was witness the last time I was on that board, it's come a long, long way, and you'll be commended for that.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Great, thank you. Commissioner White, you're recognized.
I think the board and staff over there at Mosey are doing a wonderful job. I'm just chiming in to say that I'm a pharmacist professionally, and I love your final slide, your closing slide.
That's
It's
great.
great. Thank you.
That's awesome. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
That was great, the periodic chart. And I just have a thank you actually from my aide. Her daughter Ariana goes to the Little Makers Club free of charge, and she says the kids learn so much and they love it. So thank you.
Commissioner Miller?
One more thank you. Commissioner
Absolutely.
Higginbotham. You ever went over there and helped turn it around. So this board needs to congratulate you also for what you've done over there. Thank you very much.
I wanted to do that. Wanted to make sure he is recognized for his outstanding contribution to right your ship, because it was a Herculean effort, and you really applied your great financial skills to help them get that turned around. Commissioner Chris, you recognize?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think most of it's been already said, but Al, you and I have been friends a very long time, long before here. You're a very brilliant man, very hardworking man, but you're also a very compassionate man. And we really appreciate your leadership on this board in working with their team and the efforts that you and your team has made to save our museum. I mean, this is so important to our kids. It's been a very important part of my district for my 26 years of service. I served on your board for over 10 years in the early days when we were going after the money for all the different improvements there. And, you know, we're very proud to have this unique opportunity in our market, and we're glad it was saved.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Higginbotham for some closing comments.
The one thing I did overlook is that we, in the middle of all this turnaround, this opening and closing and resizing, we went from closed board meetings to operating in the sunshine. And I don't know, there's Robert. That was trying at times, but we worked through it, and glad that it's behind us. And it's amazing to me how many people show up now for public comment.
That's great. And I know your future is very bright, because I know Mr. Vinnick is so committed to you and your mission. And actually, the new Mosey, that will be down here, I'm sure, within 5 to 7 years. So it's very promising. Can we get, I think we should do a motion to receive this update. We have a motion by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Higginbotham. Please record your vote.
Thank you very much. Motion carried, 7-0.
Thank you again. And thank you, Mr. Merrill. He worked alongside you, too. He was in the middle of that hurricane. So it's a
I'm
team
very
effort.
grateful that you showed up, because I had so many balls in the air. Very grateful, Jillian.
Very team effort.
And I did want to mention, and I maybe omitted it, but I have to, thank Mr. Merrill and all of his staff for all of their support and help and advice and everything that they did to help us get to where we are at right now.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks, everyone. And now we have our 1045 times certain B10. And this is the 8th modification to the Tampa Bay Passenger Ferry Interim Public-Private Partnership Agreement. Don't really have a formal presentation. We talked about this in briefings. Essentially, the bottom line is that this 8th modification will allow HMS and Southwell to undertake further due diligence and project management, specifically looking at site connectivity, coordinating with HART and McDill, doing a market and ridership survey and projections, as well as preliminary planning and conceptual design and environmental evaluation. The cost of this further due diligence is $774,573, and the 8th modification takes us through late March of 2019. I think we do have our owner's rep here if you have questions, but it's pretty straightforward in terms of what is happening in this next phase.
Okay, great. I do not see any questions from any of our members, and I think I could just ask for a motion to approve item B10. We have a motion by Commissioner Kemp, seconded by Commissioner Kristen Hagan. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please record your vote.
Motion carried, 7-0.
And that concludes your time certains. We can go to the regular agenda, beginning with item B1. It's a healthcare services item. Jean Early.
Very good.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Gene Early. I'm the Healthcare Services Director. B1 is request that you approve agreements with the Florida Agency for Healthcare Administration for participation in the low-income pool, disproportionate share, and related intergovernmental transfers, IGT programs, collectively known as LIP programs, which require intergovernmental transfers to WACA in an amount not to exceed $67,163,808, with an expected drawdown to in excess of $127 million in additional money in federal funding from Hillsborough County hospitals, federally qualified health centers, and behavioral health providers. It recognized that the LIP programs are innovative and cost-effective programs under Florida statutes, and specifically 212.0554, and the required funding for these IGT transfers is appropriated within the Indigent Healthcare Fund and will not require any general funds. This agenda item does not impact FY18 or proposed FY19 budgets.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As required, I just want to announce that I practice pharmacy on a part-time basis over at Suncoast Community Health Centers. They're part of this item, so to avoid any conflict of interest, I'll be abstaining, and I've given the proper paperwork to the clerk's office staff.
Very good. Thank you very much. We have a motion by Commissioner Kemp, seconded by Commissioner Miller, to approve item B1. Great job, Jean, and for helping many, many people with health care in our community. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please record your vote.
Motion carried, 6-0. Commissioner White abstained.
Thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We have a number of procurement items beginning with B2 through B7. Scott?
Good morning, Scott Stormer, Procurement Services. Item B2 is asking the board to award a 3-year sole source contract with Trafficware Group Incorporated in the amount of $1,487,623.51 for traffic signal controller cabinets, parts, software, and associated upgrades for the Public Works Department. There are no subcontract opportunities for disadvantaged business enterprises due to the proprietary nature of the goods and services, and Procurement Services recommends approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner White, seconded by Commissioner Higginbotham to approve item B2. Is there any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, please record your vote on B2.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Item B3 is asking the board to award and execute an agreement with the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Westra Construction Corporation, in the amount of $2,019,573.55 for stormwater improvements at Holloman's Branch for the Public Works Department. A disadvantaged business enterprise participation goal of 12% was established for the project, and the recommended vendor has committed to achieving a higher goal of 17%, and Procurement Services recommends approval.
Thank you very much. Motion by Commissioner Higginbotham, seconded by Commissioner Kemp to approve item B3. Is there any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, please record your vote.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Item B4 is asking the board to award and execute a 2-year agreement with the highest ranked and best qualified proposer, Cigna Health and Life Insurance Company, to administer fully insured dental benefits for county employees and retirees for the Human Resources Department at an estimated cost of $4,012,954, depending on the actual enrollment. Cigna offered to subcontract a minimum of 10% of its ultimate fees to disadvantaged business enterprises and therefore received 5 bonus points. There is no financial impact to the county for this program, as the cost of dental benefits is paid solely by employees and the retirees. Procurement Services recommends approval.
Thank you very much. We're on item B4, motion by Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner Kemp. Is there any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, please record your vote on item B4.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Item B5 is asking the board to authorize advance payments totaling $1,480,648.07 for the purchase of 3 fire pumper trucks using existing sole source agreement and an available contract administered by the Florida Sheriff's Association and the Florida Association of Counties. Exercising this option will save the county at least $49,000, which can be used to offset the cost of important loose equipment for these vehicles. Procurement Services does recommend approval.
Thank you. We're on item B5. Motion by Commissioner Kemp, seconded by Commissioner White to approve item B5. Is there any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, please record your vote.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Item B6 is asking the board to award and execute a 2-year agreement with the highest ranked and best qualified proposer, Minnesota Life Insurance Company, for administration of fully insured life insurance benefits for county employees and retirees for the Human Resource Department at an estimated cost of $742,442.88, again, depending on actual enrollment. No firms offered a subcontract a minimum of 10% of the ultimate fees, therefore no bonus points were awarded to any of the firms. Procurement Services does recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. It's item B6, motion by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Kemp to approve item B6. Is there any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, please record your vote. Item B6.
Motion carried, 7-0.
And lastly, item B7 is asking the board to award and execute a 2-year agreement with the highest ranked and best qualified proposer, Standard Insurance Company, to administer fully insured short-term and long-term disability insurance benefits for county employees for the Human Resources Department at an estimated cost of $1,593,790.99, depending on actual enrollment. One of the responding firms, Life Insurance Company of North America, offered a subcontract a minimum of 10% of its ultimate fees to disadvantaged business enterprises and did receive the 5 bonus points. Procurement Services recommends approval.
Thank you. We're on item B7, motion by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Kemp to approve item B7. Is there any further question or discussions? Seeing none, please record your vote. Item B7.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Very well, thank you.
Thanks, Scott. B8, Public Utilities.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. George Cassidy, Public Utilities. For item B8, we're asking that you approve a resolution supporting the decision to declare equipment at the Northwest Biosolids Management Facility, this equipment as surplus, and authorize removal of that equipment. It is the department's intent to sell this equipment through an auction if possible, and if not, then we'll scrap it at the highest available price. The action will also authorize the clerk of the court to remove the property from our asset inventory. All the revenues that we receive from the sale of this surplus asset will be returned to the Public Utility General Fund in accordance with all appropriate bond resolutions. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you very much. We're on item B8. We have a motion by Commissioner Kemp, seconded by Commissioner Miller. Item B8. Is there any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, please record your vote on item B8.
Motion carried, 7-0.
And B9, Public Works.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Hudock, Public Works Department. Commissioners, item B9 is asking the board to approve the interlocal agreement between Hillsborough County and the City of Tampa for $1,494,357,000 in FY19 and $1,539,192 in FY20 for the city to provide the maintenance and operation of certain county roads, traffic signals, and bridges within the corporate limits of the city. This agreement is for the period of October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2020. The annual cost of $1,494,357 in FY19 is included in the Transportation Trust Fund of Public Works' FY19 tentative operating budgets, and staff does recommend approval.
Thank you very much. We're on item B9, motion by Commissioner Kemp, seconded by Commissioner White. On item B9, is there any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, please go to vote. Item B9.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Item F2, which is Commissioner Kemp's item concerning county solar co-ops.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Fass, Assistant County Administrator. At the request of Commissioner Kemp, in July of 2017, we brought forth a request for $15,000 to sponsor Solar United Neighbors of Florida and their outreach associated with the launch of a solar co-op here in Hillsborough County. The board approved the request with the requirement that FL Sun outbrief the board with the results of the co-op. They're here today along with EPC, who managed the contract. My role early on was performing due diligence on Solar United Neighbors. I remained active attending their public meetings. I learned a lot in the process, to the point I was comfortable actually joining the co-op, and I'm happy to say I now have solar on my home through the co-op. At this time, I'd like to invite Janet Doherty, Director of EPC, to the podium.
Welcome, Janet.
And good morning again, Commissioners. Thank you, Commission, and thank you, Tom, for having me here today. EPC is very proud to be a part of this initiative with the county, the League of Women Voters, and all of our solar co-op partners that have made this program a great success. Most importantly, I'd like to recognize the board and the administration and Mr. Merrill for your generosity and support. The funding you provided to sponsor the Florida Sun Cooperative enabled them to educate and support our citizens throughout the whole solar purchasing process. All this made our job very easy and allowed us to successfully facilitate and manage the co-op contract while promoting the benefits of going solar in our community. At this moment, I would like to take the opportunity to personally thank Dr. Garrity, the former executive director of the EPC. Rick, would you come up? I'd like to invite Eugenia as well, who is his wife, to come on up. They are a team. He has been retired now for 3 years, but he's not really retired because he's been working on all of these solar initiatives. Rick played an instrumental role in helping to shepherd the co-op from his initial presentation to you last September through the completion of the program this summer. Not only has he been a great champion of solar in Hillsborough County, he has also been successful in bringing solar to his own backyard recently with a planned launch of the solar co-op in Polk County this month. Rick, I'd like to ask you if you'd like to make a few comments.
Thanks, Janet, and Commissioners. It's great to see you all again and be before you, and thank you so much for your support of this effort. It's been a big success, and it's helped educate citizens of Hillsborough County and allow them to go through the sometimes difficult technical decisions in getting rooftop solar. And I think you've done a great job. The county's done a great job with it. And Tom Fass and Janet, thank you, and your staff. And hopefully we can see another co-op in the future for Hillsborough County. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. It's good to see you here.
And thank you, Eugenia, as well. They're a team. They work together. Dr. Garrity's on code enforcement in Polk County and with the solar program, so he's still very, very busy. There's no doubt that the residents are very interested in tapping into solar power here and throughout the state. But who could have predicted how wildly successful and truly groundbreaking this effort would turn out to be in our own county? EPC was thrilled to be a part of the process and is pleased to continue our partnership. We look forward to pursuing potential co-op endeavors together. I've heard of a co-op 3 coming forward, and we seek to make our future even brighter. Thomas Edison once said, "The value of an idea is in the using of it." And Tom and I both had the bright idea to get solar. Tom was one of the first in the program, and I was one of the last in the program, and I actually called him with my technical questions. It was a great process, and I'm happy that I was able to take advantage of the opportunity and now be a part of the solar community. At this time, I'd like to introduce Angela, I hope I get this right, de Munbren. She's the director of the Florida Solar United Neighbors. Angela has been the director since the beginning of the Florida Sun movement in 2016 and has implemented nearly 20 Florida co-ops in Florida. We are thankful she's been so successful growing solar here in the Tampa Bay. Angela, I'd like you to come up and provide a final assessment as required by the contract and to share with all of you the exciting outcomes from the Hillsborough County Solar Co-op.
Thank you so much. I am very excited to share some really sunny yet really cool news regarding the Hillsborough County co-ops. We'll go ahead and jump right in. And thank you all very much for your support on this really cool initiative. We're actually on number 36 in the state. So here we go. Hillsborough County Co-ops. There's a picture you see of the actual launch at USF, September 25th. It was probably our largest attended launch, and the amount of media, earned media that we received that really drove attendance and signups for the co-ops was just absolutely instrumental through the leadership of all the local organizations and partners and the county. We launched September 25th at USF. U.S. Representative Kathy Castor, Hillsborough County Commissioner Pat Kemp, among many speakers. We had 3 community information sessions. That's one at South Shore Regional Library, Jimmy Keel Regional Library, and Seminole Heights Branch Library with really, really great attendance. We had 2 installers chosen for this group. So when we started and developed the co-op and facilitating the process, we learned really quickly early on. We had over 100 signups just before the actual launch date, which was truly unheard of in our program and really truly from any of our other states. So we learned really quickly that we were going to have to cap the first one, and we immediately opened a second one. So very exciting. And in that, you had 2 local companies. SEM Solar was chosen for Hillsborough A, and then Tampa Bay Solar, a veteran-owned and employed company out of Tampa, was chosen for Hillsborough B. And this was our 2 pictures of our selection committee that worked diligently over 3+ hours and chose a company for their group. So overall, 214 number of participants joined the first co-op, 194 qualified to move forward, meaning they had good roofs to move forward. We make sure that they have a good roof before their name is passed on to an installer because we don't want anyone to be oversold anything that may not work for them. And then the second co-op had to be opened. 89 participants joined the second co-op, 72 qualified, 401 homeowners were educated through those 3 community information sessions, and a total of 47 homeowners actually went solar and put it on their roof. Very exciting. 463 kilowatts, a total amount of solar installed through the Hillsborough co-ops, and over $1 million invested back into the local economy. Here's a snapshot of all of the installs within your area. And if you're interested in the carbon offset, that's lifetime carbon, 17.7 million lifetime carbon offset with those 40 plus installs. Just a few pictures we included of some of the Hillsborough County homeowners that gave us permission to share their install pictures. As you can see, very different style roofs, different size homes. We're very proud of that fact, and we share it's not just a boutique item any longer. The price is going down and truly available to many, many additional homeowners. And I'd like to finally thank all of the partners, including Hillsborough County, Commissioner Pat Kemp, and the EPC department, and Tom Fass. Thank you so much for your support in helping us get the word out, as well as Sierra Club, the local League of Women Voters of Florida, and you see there Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, U.S. Green Building Council, Winthrop Town Center, Clean Energy Research Center, just an amazing group, and Physicians for Social Responsibility. And that's it. Thank you so much, and this is Dr. Rick Garrity at the launch, holding up his lovely homemade signs. So thanks again.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just want to thank you all. I wanted you to have the presentation here. I wanted the public, I wanted the commission to know about the work that we all approved moving forward. Florida Sun has been a great opportunity for us in the local area to move forward with getting panels on the roof. In fact, as I understand it, we had the #1 interest here locally in Hillsborough County in the nation. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. And that was truly before we even had the launch at USF. It was just an incredible, once word got out that we were bringing a co-op to the area, thank goodness we had the sign-up page ready a couple weeks before the actual launch because it was an incredible amount of interest.
So the pent-up interest in having this done has been amazing, and we as a commission have been able to partner and facilitate bringing this forward in really a way that people can trust. They look, I think, to a program like this to install solar and know that they're getting the best kinds of metrics on it and the best roofs for it. So I so much appreciate it. I want to just also thank all of you, including Tom Fass has been amazing from the county. Thank you Tom, for the work that you've done. Janet Dougherty with the EPC and the EPC staff and all the work that they've done to bring this forward. And of course, Dr. Rick Garrity and Eugenia have both been personally moving this forward. And I think it's been just in all ways such a great program for Hillsborough County and for this area and for what we can bring in terms of addressing some of our needs and really pairing with the community in a way that's so significant and important. I do want to say, too, that right at the time we did this, I've watched these stats for years for solar installations and particularly rooftop installations, which one of the things about solar energy is you do need a lot of real estate to put those panels on and make them work. It really takes a lot of communities. It's not just that you can do a solar plant here or there. It takes that spreading around, and I'm glad to see TECO has also been moving with a goal of 10% solar energy by 2020, which is kind of amazing. The solar farms are starting, but we also need a lot of rooftop energy. And I've watched as across the nation, other communities, including, of course, California, but other states, including Massachusetts, have installed far more rooftop solar than we have in Florida, where we have so much available sunshine energy. And so I was really happy to see just in the last year that Florida has now moved ahead, probably because we haven't been doing it in the past, to become the #1, at least for a quarter, rooftop solar installer or buyer, consumer in the nation. So that's all good moving forward. And I want to thank you all for all the work that you've done to make this possible. And let's keep going. It's a great program. And right now, you want to just tell anyone who's watching or wants to know how they, in Hillsborough County, or I suppose in Polk, but how they can move forward, because this program still moves on. We've only done the first segment, what they can do to find out more.
Sure. Well, tomorrow night, that's a great closing. We're actually officially closing this first round of co-ops by having a co-op party celebrating the installs and showing off even more install pictures at 81 Brewing Company. I can certainly, there's information on solarunitedneighbors.org, and I could always share that invite with Commissioner Kemp to possibly send out to everyone here. It's going to be really fun, very interesting, and it's open to the public. It's open to the community. Can come out and check out the install pictures, talk to homeowners that have solar that went through this co-op. Additionally, we're going to have a nationwide solar tour, and many of which are participating here in Hillsborough County, October 6th and 7th. A few weekends from now. But for more information about any of our co-ops, or people, if the community is just interested in going ahead and getting on our email list to be ready when we open the next go round, they can contact us at solarunitedneighbors.org or email our team, flteam@solarunitedneighbors.org.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you all very much. Great presentation. Okay, Mr. Merrill?
We have 2 staff reports left. G1 is your monthly Head Start, early Head Start.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Dr. Jenkins, Head Start, Early Head Start Department, here seeking approval for our August report. It all continues to go well in your Head Start programs. August was our transition month. We ended the school year and began another school year. As such, 2 of your members were recognized by the Florida Head Start Association. One teacher, Lauren Herndon at Hillsborough County Public Schools Head Start, Early Head Start program, was named Teacher of the Year. And Ms. Aikisha Highsmith was named Parent of the Year. She's the current Policy Council Chair. So kudos to you for your Head Start programs performing as they are. I can answer any questions.
Great, thank you. It's always great to see you here and give you a report. Motion by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner White to receive your report. Please record your vote.
Motion carried, 7-0.
And your final item, G2, which is the report on recycling plastic bags and plastic straws.
Okay, Commissioner Miller, would you like to open?
No, just go to staff.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kimberly Byer, Solid Waste Management Division Director. We provide a report regarding recycled plastic bags and plastic straws. We'll go over a couple of the high points and then answer any questions you may have. Over the past few years, there's been a growing public concern of the negative environmental impacts on plastic bags and plastic straws. In response to that awareness, there's been an emerging trend by businesses and government making commitments to use less single-use plastics, which include plastic bags and plastic straws. Local efforts within Florida mainly focus on encouraging business to voluntarily reduce the use of straws and bags. Plastic straws and bags are not included in the residential curbside collection system here in Hillsborough County and nowhere in the Tampa Bay region. Staff advocates for waste reduction for the use of reusable bags, straws, and bottles. Today we're handing out reusable bottles which have been provided by public utilities and reusable straws provided by Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful. Potential actions that can be taken by the board in response to single-use plastics include the following: encourage and support voluntary initiatives by businesses and the public to avoid single-use plastics, including straws and bags. Work through our partnership with Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful to join existing campaigns or develop one unique to Hillsborough County. Another would be eliminate the distribution of single-use straws, plastic bags at county facilities and events demonstrating the county's commitment to reducing plastic waste and litter. Or develop environmentally preferable purchasing guidelines for county departments in efforts to reduce waste. Or consider enacting ordinances formally banning the distribution of single-use plastic straws and bags from restaurants and retail establishments in Hillsborough County. Any questions you may have?
Okay, I don't see any at this time. Is there any action?
Well, yeah.
Commissioner Miller?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me thank staff for all the work and research that they did and putting together this report. As you know, I brought this up, I think, in July because of the mere fact is that so many municipalities and counties are looking at what can be done with the utilization of not only straws, but plastic bags as well. We all know the damage they do to the environment, and they take a long time to degrade themselves down. So staff put together this extensive report. They have some potential actions that they put together here, and I think that if we accept these action items that they put forth and working with some of our community partners, I know I'm hearing that some want to come on board and work with us on that. I think that we look forward to that. So my motion today is to direct staff to implement an education outreach campaign for 1 year, utilizing Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful and our municipality and community partners to implement voluntary efforts to eliminate single-use plastics in Hillsborough County.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion by Commissioner Miller on the floor, seconded by Commissioner Kemp. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
I had some questions because I've looked at the issue of plastic bags, which are have been banned by many nations around the world and are now starting to, I understand, certainly have been banned by some local communities, but also by some, I think, some states at this point. I know that the state of Florida has a preemption on a community or in any local jurisdiction doing anything with regards to plastic bags. Could you speak to that?
I believe that has been challenged. Our County Attorney Hank Ennis can speak a little bit more toward that, but that is being challenged currently in the court system. The city of Coral Gables is currently the only municipality we found that have banned plastic bags at this time.
Can you speak to that? What's happening legally with that? Coral Gables did that last year.
Yes, ma'am. Hank Ennis, County Attorney's Office. The City of Coral Gables initially adopted a ban on polystyrene containers, and that was challenged by the Federation of Retailers. And the Circuit Court found that the statutes referencing in the case were unconstitutional because they were vague and did not provide parameters. And included in the polystyrene is a discussion regarding plastic bags. And that has been appealed to the 3rd District Court of Appeals, and we're waiting to hear back from them on that issue.
And as I understand it too, what's holding everything up is that a report was made back to the legislature. They requested a report on plastic bags, and it was made back in something like 2008 or 9. And it simply would take the legislature to accept the report, but that's never been done?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. Back in 2008, the state legislature adopted a law that said that no local jurisdiction can adopt a ban on plastic bags and other containers until the Department of Environmental Protection came back with a report on the impacts of those products. In 2010, the state legislature, or the DEP, did come back with the report presented to the state legislature, and the state legislature has not acted on that report. And that's one of the reasons why the circuit court said the law was unconstitutional, because it allowed the state to do nothing indefinitely.
And I just bring this to the board's attention because I think in the future we might want to note that and do something further about that. I'd also like to follow what happens in the courts, but as well, I think it's important that even though there's not a specific ability to ban, that certainly there are all kinds of measures that maybe we could encourage along with businesses to do. IKEA, for instance, doesn't give bags, plastic bags. You have to pay 5 cents or 50 cents, I think, 50 cents if you want one of their big bags, or bring your own. And certainly that's the case with some. So anyway, I'd like to also be thinking about creative ways we might be able to partner and move forward on that. And I appreciate Commissioner Miller raising this, but I do want to move forward with this, but also be thinking about other measures we can take and what we can do.
Okay, thank you very much. We have Commissioner Miller. You're next in the queue. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do understand that I did not make a motion to say anything about banning straws, plastic straws, or plastic bags. The potential action that staff came up with, if you read these potential actions, consider enacting an ordinance formally banning the distribution of single plastic straws or bags from restaurants. I did not put that in my motion. That is something that they recommended. My motion was to direct staff to implement an education and outreach campaign, for 1 year, utilizing Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful and our municipalities and community partners to implement voluntary efforts to eliminate single-use plastics in Hillsborough County. So that's the motion. There was nothing banning or developing an ordinance at all at this particular point in time. Now, a year from now, we may want to do that, but that's what the motion was for staff to do.
Well, we're preempted anyway now on the bags, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're preempted on bags anyway, so we couldn't ban them. Okay, Commissioner White, you recognize?
I'm going to go ahead and support the motion on the floor since it speaks to an educational outreach campaign as it relates to voluntary efforts. But I certainly would not support an ordinance to ban plastic bags and straws in places of business at this time. And if we end up with that before us in a year, I don't see where I will have changed my mind by then. But since we're talking about voluntary efforts, I'll gladly support that.
Right. I think most retailers are even now, they're selling these the permanent straws. They're recognizing to get people to move in that direction, but it's not forced. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
I just wanted to point out, too, it wasn't that I necessarily would be bringing that up or bringing it forward, but I think it's important for people to understand what the status is and where we are with it in terms of our state legislation and what we can do. So I wanted to have that discussion and awareness. And again, I also think that it would be to have a really robust campaign with the county and with local business to really start to raise awareness of bringing your own bags, your canvas bags. It would be good.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner Kemp to approve item G2. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please record your vote.
Motion carried, 7-0.
And that just leaves future discussion items, if any.
Okay, anyone have a future discussion item? Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
I'll just reiterate what I had asked about earlier. About a year ago, probably more than a year ago now, I originally put forward as a future item a report back, and I know it's very comprehensive and a big requirement. I think in some different ways it's been being worked on, but a report back on how we can move forward. I know part of that is stormwater, robustly looking at what we are going to do in the future to deal with climate change, sea level rise issues coming forward. So, and I think it was emphasized in so many ways today, both by the regional, but also by the timber pond and discussions of where development or how development should occur, how we should handle our stormwater, how we move forward in so many different ways. And so I'll put that back again for, I think, future items that we start to really look at coming forward to the board with a comprehensive plan about, and we build on that plan and grow that plan about all the actions and what we can do in the county to deal with sea level change, climate change, sea level rise, and all those issues going forward.
Okay, thank you. I just have one, and I saw it on TV last night. I hate to see these issues on TV about the paving on Countryway Boulevard. I'm sure staff is aware. They are very aware of that situation with that. But I think, it made me think the residents are on there and now they're soliciting Domino's Pizza to help them. They have that campaign. If you can't get home, if you get home and your pizza is all a mess because of the road conditions, you can get a new pizza from Domino's. And I know our staff is working really hard. I know they are, and they're trying their best. And a lot of it's funding, and when the funding's available, they have to do PD&E work. But let's just make sure we're engaging with these residents to keep them educated, like we're doing with Timber Pond.
Sure.
And some of these particular hot spots we have where we know we've told residents it's coming, but they're very upset.
Sure. Just to remind the board, we spent a lot of time with the West Chase board and residents and offered them a solution over a year ago to accelerate the recycling program. They opted not to do it. So they were fully aware back then of the timing and the constraints. We offered a plan. They didn't accept it. We are moving as fast as we can. If Domino's can do it, great. That's the essence of public-private partnerships. Good luck to them. We'll be happy to help them.
I hear you. I know. And I think it's probably the issue is not all the residents know that you're talking with other residents and working out solutions.
Well, we're talking with their leadership. We talked with the board members of the West Chase, and they opted to not accept it. So we're doing everything we can.
But as you know, we just have media is very sensationalized now, and they're looking for issues that they can capitalize opinion on.
Maybe we should start selling pizza. Maybe that would help.
Good idea. Okay, are there any future business come before us? Seeing none, we are adjourned.